What's happening, everybody? Thanks for joining us today on Cinema Recap. Hope you're having a great day. Today we'll check out a sci-fi thriller flick from 2019 called Code 8.
I need money.
Where a desperate young man with special powers commits a series of petty crimes and is hunted by a militarized police force. Spoilers ahead. So, we start our story in the early 20th century. The public become aware of the existence of those with superhuman abilities. Amongst the bunch of info given to us, one of the first things we learn is that it's not known why some people have superpowers and others don't. Those that were gifted make better workers. But throughout time, those with power were no longer in demand. Machines could do what they could do. Most likely better and cheaper. Amongst this garble of information, we also learn a new drug called psych, which is spinal fluid extracted from individuals with power. Drug dealers are paying a lot of money for that. People are getting more desperate. Technology is advancing. Anyways, the government has passed a law requiring all powers to be registered. And those with powers have become marginalized and are now viewed as second-class citizens. The first scene we witness is of a lady sleeping on a sofa. Connor wakes her up gently, telling her that she fell asleep in her uniform again. It's his mom, whose name is Mary. He makes her coffee as she stays on the sofa, rubbing her eyes tiredly. Moments later, she looks at her hands, noticing some strange markings on them. While Connor's cooking eggs for breakfast, his mom washes her hands in the sink. We can see that from her reaction, her hands are hurting, though she tries to hide it. Connor goes through a bunch of scary-looking letters labeled with big red text, reading scary things like "final notice" and "missed payment." As a quote-unquote adult, these are true horrors. I don't care about ghosts or that scary clown from It. Just seeing these sends a chill down my spine. Then Connor's mom asks him a really weird question.
If you were a vegetable, what kind of vegetable would you be?
Seriously? Well, I'd be a disgustingly shaped turnip. Connor's not keen to answer, but his mom's pressing him with a smile, so he does answer.
A tomato.
Cringe. Connor then goes into saying that the tomato's versatile, misinforming the viewer that it's both a fruit and a vegetable. Alright, let me clear it up. It can be considered both. Google it. Also, it's a fruit. She drinks her tea or coffee and Connor sees her hand. Noticing that her condition's getting worse, she shrugs him off, saying she's fine. She comforts him, telling him that she's not going anywhere. Wait, you hear that? Come on. It sounds like foreshadowing. Connor's mom has a brain tumor, which causes her abilities to act erratically at times. She has ice powers, causing things to freeze around her. We next see Connor in a sinister-looking waiting room. He fills out some paperwork and pauses at the question asking, "Are you power-enabled?" We don't see his answer, as a lady calls out his name and Connor stands, quickly following her. Later, back in his car, he listens to the news. Bad things are happening in the world. Still, the voices on the radio talk briefly about people with powers being dangerous. Connor gets to work an hour late, and his boss says he's only giving him a half day. Connor complains, but his boss simply replies,
"I'm only giving you a half day."
So Connor walks off, talking to a coworker who asks him how the job interview went. Connor replies sarcastically, "I guess it didn't go well." I feel you, man. When he hears an engine. Outside, a drone's approaching, assessing the area. Moments later, a cop car shows up and a voice is heard on a megaphone. The voice says that all workers must come outside for identification. One of the cops talks to the foreman, telling him they have a report of powers being used. Everyone's lined up in order to take their hats off and look to the sky. The drones scan faces.
You got something you want to say?
One of the policemen says anyone who has powers must leave and stop work for the day. The guy at the end of the line won't look up, so the drone can't scan him. One of the cops orders him to look up. He does, with the greatest reluctance. However, as the worker who was arrested uses his powers to burn the cop behind him. Still handcuffed, he's running away. Robots are dropped from the drone above. Damn, that thing's bigger than I first thought. And they land on the ground superhero style. They rise to stand with, "Oh run man, run, run, run." The robots open fire and the man is outright killed. Should have run faster, I guess. The cops, fearing retaliation, turn their guns on other workers, ordering them to back up. Connor and the others comply, hands in the air. People on the ground quickly flee as those drones descend in the air, several serious-looking cars dramatically approaching the building. The robots drop from the drones and move forwards towards the building, weapons at the ready. human forces moving behind him, shielded by expendable robots. The men move through the hallways, ordering civilians to get back inside and clear the halls. The men behind the robots shout orders. Screaming's heard inside the apartment over the loud music. The robot's disabled, and one of the men pursues the culprit into the next room. He orders him to get on the ground. The guy's handcuffed, and elsewhere in the apartment, another man finds a secret room. Inside this room are several people sitting slumped in chairs, spinal fluid being taken from them. You remember the drug we talked about with the spinal fluid being extracted? And we're serious, drug dealers were paying lots of money for this. 8 people are hospitalized, presumably the unfortunate few in the secret room. And the debate continues if those giving up their spinal fluid should be treated as victims or traffickers. It's dark now. Connor drives to the store, where we see his mom being reprimanded. Well, with her powers, she froze a jar and accidentally broke it, due to the tumor in her brain. Connor comes to her defense, telling this guy not to talk to his mom that way. His mom says she's fine and that he should wait in the car. This jerk manager agrees mockingly, and Connor becomes heated. His eyes begin to shimmer, revealing he has powers. His mom turns and walks away without arguing. They leave together. In the car, she gives him a lecture about showing his powers.
You never show anyone your power.
But he's arguing back that she did the same in the store. She falls silent, looking ahead again. Connor says that she needs to start chemo. His mom says they don't have the money, and he says that he'll sell the truck. And she's like, it won't be enough. Tell me more. His mom doesn't reply.
I was 5.
All in all, it was a very uncomfortable ride home. Now the next morning, alongside the sound of distant sirens, Connor talks to his coworker about the guy who was shot yesterday. A vehicle approaches him, and everyone waiting at the curb stands, moving towards that vehicle expecting work. But instead of stopping to talk to him, the driver throws something at him, shouting at them before driving away. What a jerk. Connor's mad but can't do anything, and moments later, they're all back in standby mode at the curb, waiting for some job offers. The man pulls up, staring at the group, and the man says that he needs electric Class 2. Silence. The van man named Garrett, it's Class 2, which Connor claims to be. He offers $200 up front and tells Connor to get in. Damn. Now that night, how long were they driving around for? Connor's in the van given something by a mute named Freddy to put on. It's some kind of high-vis jacket. The van pulls up by a fence protected by 10,000 volts. Connor tosses the bolt cutters he was given, using his bare hands to stop the current. The woman who's with him, Maddie, uses her fire ability to melt the padlock holding that gate shut. The van's now able to enter, and they begin to load the van with blue barrels. Well, Freddy does so easily, but Connor, who doesn't have super strength, fails epically. They're found by a security guy who questions them. Garrett says that they're just fixing the fence, but the man demands to see some ID. Then Garrett uses his telekinetic powers to take the radio from his hand. They shove him in a dumpster, lock him in. Everyone gets back into the van and escapes the area. They don't get away so easily though. Those drones are on their way. Seriously, all this for just $200. Connor asks to be paid so he can go, asking to be dropped off.
Job's not done.
But he's told the job's not done and to sit tight. The vehicle pulls over, hiding under a bridge now. Everyone gets out and begins peeling the van, taking off the red exterior to reveal white underneath. A moment of tension grips everyone as a drone spots them, hovering overhead and scanning them. But the vehicle doesn't match that description given, which was a red van. The drone heads off and everyone chills. The van pulls up into a secret place and a secret man is told. They're taken down a secret passage. A man begins to talk, saying that his farm got raided 2 days ago. He's lost almost $1 million worth of product. That's unlucky. He's told by another man, his superior, who demands a cut, that he has 1 week to pay. Otherwise, alternative plans will be made. And this man's a member of the Trust. And they mean business. Connor's introduced to Sutcliffe, who reads Connor's mind. 'Cause that's his power. Connor feels anger. Sutcliffe says that's useful. And then he tells a girl called Nia to show Connor around while he talks business.
Girls, psych.
Nia takes him to the bar, offering him anything he wants, booze, girls, psych, but Connor says that he's just passing through. Connor's later dropped off having been paid, and he's offered another job by Garrett, and also told not to waste his talent. Later on, finally at home, he's counting that money and his mom walks in. So he goes and lies about what he was doing that day, saying it was construction. His mom sits next to him and tells him that she went back to the store and got her old job back. Connor doesn't like her working there, and his mom doesn't like being there, but they have no choice because money. His mom says that everything's going to be okay before leaving. Now the next morning, Connor waits for the men again. A car pulls up offering jobs, the driver telling the men what he needs. Connor stays at the back looking out for another car. Garrett arrives and picks him up. They're sitting at a diner now, and Connor awkwardly stares at the mute who's trying to communicate with him. Garrett then asks Connor why he accepted such a dangerous job. And he simply replies, money. Connor goes into a bit more detail, but barely. Then Garrett goes outside and orders Connor to short the alarm of the car he just hit. Connor asks first what his cut is going to be, and it's $25,000. So convinced by money, Connor stops that alarm. Garrett uses his telekinetic powers to unlock the car and they casually steal it. In the car, Connor says that his electric dad died when he was young, and that he got shot holding up a liquor store. Looks like crime runs in the family.
Dad died when I was young.
Time passes. Connor and Garrett spend more time together in a montage, doing crime while Connor practices and strengthens his electric powers. Garrett talks about how he wants to live his life, no longer hiding his powers. And he tells Connor to be who he was meant to be. Connor has become a Class 5 electric, so he's leveled up, like a Pokemon. Later on, Connor checks on his mom, her condition worsening. He tells her that he got a new job and that he'd be able to afford a doctor for her. His mom hugs him, telling him that she knew things would work out. But she doesn't really know that he's doing a bunch of illegal stuff now, does she? Unknown to him, the cops are staking out his home. Connor does a little staking out of his own at the bank. At their favorite diner, Connor and Garrett tell the others details about the bank and its security, its guards, cameras, and so on. They plan to get in and out in 5 minutes. When the time comes to carry out their plan, they successfully manage to break into the vault. However, they leave that building with nowhere near as much money as they expected. Outside, they're caught by a drone. But Connor, with his increased electric abilities, manages to bring it down. Later on, Garrett approaches Sutcliffe with the bag, and he asks where the rest is. There's only $50,000 in there, because the vaults have already been cleared out for the weekend. Sutcliffe is then attacked by an assassin from the Trust, who's attempting to kill him for not honoring his debt. The assassin shot and killed in the attempt. Sutcliffe safe. Moments later, the body's taken away. Garrett talks to Sutcliffe, who tells him that they can't go to war with the Trust as they're way too strong.
My business!
Connor later on talks to Nia, who reveals her powers when she heals his arm after an injury. Nia goes on to tell him that she only remains with Sutcliffe to ease the effects of his psych addiction in order to pay a debt. Plus, she's also taking the drug too, and she doesn't tell us what the debt is.
There's nothing.
Now at home, Connor walks in to find his mom had discovered his cash pile. She's upset, realizing Connor is just like his father. But he starts to argue, saying, "Hey, I tried to do it the honest way, and it didn't work." Connor tells his mom that she's running out of time, and that he only wants to help her. Seconds later, likely due to stress, his mom has another episode and collapses. Now she's hospitalized, and the doc tells Connor that the tumor in her brain is pressing against her skull, and that's what's causing her to lose control of her abilities. He goes on to say that it's good she's in the hospital as she could be dangerous to the public. He gets out of the building and then confronted by 2 cops asking him if he's got a minute.
You know anything about these robberies?
He says no, and immediately the next scene he's sitting in a police interrogation room. So they interrogate him, playing good cop, bad cop, dangling his mother's death over his head, saying that they understand his situation, and then dangle his father's criminal history over his head, mocking him. But Connor isn't breaking. He tells him calmly that they've got the wrong guy. He's later released due to not enough evidence. So later on, he's interrogated by Sutcliffe, who uses his powers to read his mind, learning that Connor did keep his mouth shut. Connor then suggests they raid the scheduled psych run, the monthly transport of seized products for destruction. It's worth about 10 mil. Sutcliffe agrees. Connor demands that Nia heal his mother as payment, and Garrett stipulates he'll become a partner in running the psych trade with Sutcliffe 50-50 split. Deals are made, plans are discussed. And on the day of the heist, they manage to get the psych. But people are killed, which wasn't part of the plan. Sutcliffe's men execute the police officers, killing Maddie and wounding Freddie. Garrett, Freddie, and Connor escape, one of Sutcliffe's men making away with the goods. In the car, Freddie shortly after dies from the gunshot wound. Connor pulls over, getting out of the car as Garrett stays in the back holding Freddie. Back at the bar, Nia's asking Sutcliffe where the others are. He's not giving her an answer. That night, Connor and Garrett argue. Connor accusing him of getting greedy, saying what happened was his fault. Sutcliffe betrayed them because of Garrett's demand for half. Meanwhile, the cops argue amongst themselves, one saying Connor's just a pawn, another saying that they shouldn't have let him go, the first one saying that there's not enough evidence to detain him, and the third one says that none of what happened gets out. Connor speaks to his mom in the hospital, saying he can fix this, and that she needs to trust him. His mom replies,
Mom, I'm so sorry.
Later on, Connor meets with Officer Park, the good cop. Connor then goes on to say that he doesn't care if the officer shoots him because his mom is the only good thing in his life, and if he lost her, then he couldn't handle it. Connor gives Sutcliffe to Officer Park, and not long after, Sutcliffe's place is surrounded. The robots entering first open fire. Garrett cuts off their escape and shoots Sutcliffe. With Connor's help, they fight Sutcliffe's bodyguard. On the ground injured, Sutcliffe orders Nia to fix him. Instead, she takes his gun, refusing to heal him. Together, Connor and Garrett defeat the final bodyguard, and approach the dying Sutcliffe. Garrett kills him, and Connor orders Nia to heal his mom. Nia's explaining that she can't because all injuries she heals, she takes on herself. If she were to save his mom, it would literally kill her. Garrett orders Connor to take what he came for, before making off with the drugs. Nia's begging for her life, but Connor takes her to the hospital regardless. They enter his mom's room, and Connor closes the door sinisterly. He orders Nia to save his mom, and she begins to cry. Nia begins to heal the mother, whimpering and shuddering in pain as she takes on the mom's illness. Connor stops her, unable to take it anymore. His mom wakes up only briefly before passing on. The two are able to say their goodbyes before she goes. Connor drives to the police station to turn himself in. He tells Nia the truck has almost a full tank to get her wherever she needs to go. He apologizes for what he did, and they part ways. His final words to her are that he'll try to make things right. A power ban is being voted on due to the heist that resulted in several deaths. Nia visits her father in prison, and we find out whose debt she was paying off. While Connor visits his mother's grave before he serves his jail sentence.
Love you.
I guess it just goes to show you that crime doesn't pay. Fade to black. Thanks for chilling with us on Code 8, released in 2019, but based on a short film released back in 2016 by the same name. Starring in this movie, we have Robbie Amell, Carrie Matchett, Stephen Amell, and Kyla Kane. As always, till next time.